Welcome to our next adventure with Commology 411, a podcast about anything and everything. Kim and her guests will take you behind the scenes, behind the story, or behind the bar. So sit back. Make sure your seatbelt is fastened, tray table in its upright position, all carry-ons stored under the seats. But for this adventure, electronic devices must remain on, as we are ready to take off on our next adventure. Introducing Kim Schultz and Commology 411.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 24. And this evening, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, but our main topic is going to be about 10 strange behaviors of an authentic empath. We're also going to talk really quick about Hershey's chocolate made a her and she bars to honor great women. I am Kim Schultz, and I'm your adventure coordinator for this show. Let's say hi to my co-host, Tyson Harley.
Beep, 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 beep. 24. Episode 24.
I know. I just had to. Okay, so quick. Tyson's quick hits.
Oh, Lord.
So we've had fun with the idea that we haven't done any production for Tyson's quick hits. I am proud to say that we finally did production for excursions, and the first excursion with said introductory in production should go up soon, and it was fun. I think you guys will get a giggle out of the production that we put together.
Yeah, that was good.
And I said that I had a radio background, and I told you, put this on as a quick hit, Kim. And it was at a parallel frisbee and voice production for Tyson. Let me explain. So I always tell people, if you ever just want to see Tyson really happy, like a dog with his dug hanging out, and just its tongue hanging out, and just kind of really happy. You know how dogs look at the dog park? Just throw a frisbee. And I'll be and I'll catch it, and I'll be like, oh, goody! Frisbee, right? So same thing. It's kind of a parallel for me when I do voice production, and it's fun, not just any old stuff. Like, I like doing that stuff if it's a fun project. So, because it kind of like gives you a sense of accomplishment, and you did something silly that's, or good, good or silly or whatever, that people can appreciate and, you can put out there. So, I had fun doing that voice production, but now we just got to get me on a schedule to do the Tyson's Quick Hits.
Quick Hits, yeah.
Voice production. That's going to be a little trickier, though, because you'd have to drop in those elements in the show.
Right.
So I'm not exactly
we'll just
sure.
have to do the weight. We'll just have to go, we'll just have to say,
leave a space and then have the element down below.
Insert it in there and have it just 100% ready, and then you're just going to have to know how to start it. Yeah.
And so that's quick hit number 1, parallel with the frisbee and the voice production, the fact that we got the excursion production up. Now,
yes.
Quick hit number 2. I kind of mentioned this, but our next excursion is going to be on Hans Kammler, and that will be going up soon.
Right.
And so that'll be the one with that production. Quick hit number 3. Now, there's a couple people that I want you guys to start paying attention to, and one of them is this guy. You probably heard me in the briefing for Hans Kammler. I can't remember if we said it in the excursion itself or in an actual episode. It turns out that for Auschwitz in Nazi Germany, for some reason, we decided the U.S. Armed Forces decided not to bomb the railways on the way into the concentration camps. And I'd heard this as like somebody saying this, who was a caller into a show. Well, the person who answered, I listened to it the other day, was a person who had looked all into this stuff and knew about the hidden Nazi that is Hans Kammler, so knew all about Auschwitz and stuff. And he said that, yes, that's true. There was a specific decision not to bomb the railroads on the way into the concentration camps. That's how they got the Jews there to kill them. So you'd be like, well, shouldn't you bomb that so they can't get in there as easily? Because some of these were kind of remote, or that was the main way they got them there. They literally, you hear, loaded them into boxcars.
Right.
So Auschwitz specifically, which is something like 1 to 1.2 million people died, the main way of getting them there were the railways. So why didn't we bomb them? Well, it turns out that there's a guy named John McCloy, McCloy. So look into John McCloy, and he is a special level of FeatherMaker, if I may just use the non-curse. He is a historical MFer, John McCloy, and he is the guy who said, we don't want to bomb the railroads. And he actually used this, according to the expert on this show that wrote this book about the hidden Nazi, at least. He said, no, he's definitely the person who decided not to bomb the railways to disable that transportation of the Jews into the concentration camps. And he said, it's better just to concentrate on ending the war quickly. It's like, what? You couldn't do both? So, anyway, John McCloy, and then the other thing about John McCloy is, if you're a JFK assassination buff like I am...
I love that.
So, you look up that Lyndon Baines Johnson specifically appointed a guy who had it in for JFK, or at least had the motive to be in for JFK, onto the Warren Commission to lead the Warren Commission. It's Dulles, and I can't remember. It's Alan Dulles. There were two Dulles brothers, so I forget which one. I think it's Alan. Dulles has an intelligence background. Well, it turns out that he's the one who was...
I'm not sure about that.
So Alan Dulles was the one who was most active in the Warren Commission and helped lead it in its various don't answer the question ways. The second most active person, also appointed to the Warren Commission to check on the JFK assassination, and FBI majorly led them down the wrong path. That's another question. Is this McCloy guy, the second most active guy, also had some intelligence connections. So this McCloy, John McCloy, is a serious historical MFer. And we might talk about him more in later episodes, but I just wanted to mention him. That's quick hit number 3. And then the last quick hit, number 4. I don't know, did I just hit somebody with a pie? Really got to get that production going. Speaking of historical and around JFK, look up, when you get a chance, someone named Dorothy Kilgallen. Dorothy Kilgallen. Does it ring a bell in any way, shape, or form?
Mm-mm.
Would you know that, I think, we got a story on this. Her story, and she, and it's something like, is March like a woman's month or something, or what's
Yeah, it's like International Women's Day.
Anyway, in the 50s and 60s, this woman was a heavyweight in the media. Like, she and her husband literally had a weekly radio show that broadcast from their 5-story penthouse apartment in, like, Manhattan or something. And she was a columnist and did not care. She wanted to get to the bottom of things. And no less than, I don't think it was Cronkite, but somebody like a Walter Cronkite in that level of journalist said she is one of the best journalists in the United States or the world. And it's not even that close. I mean, she's high-level journalist and opinion leader and columnist. And she started looking into the JFK assassination, was not going to let it go. Well, guess who ends up dead? Under the same kind of suspicious circumstances as did Marilyn Monroe. Not long, like literally 5 days after she had said to people, I'm about to release the book and it's going to blow the top off the JFK case. The same woman went to Jack Ruby's trial. So Jack Ruby is the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff got laid out during that trial. She was there every day. And she even got an exclusive interview with Jack Ruby. And so she decides to dig into it. And in her column, she's saying things are fishy.
Yeah.
In her column, she's so kind of the opposite of the coronavirus thing, where people are having no nuance. They're just following the exact lead. And that happened plenty in the JFK assassination, too, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying this person was a particularly really heroic and really heavyweight media person. She was also on What's My Line? Now, a lot of us don't remember that per se because we think of whose line is it anyway? And that's the Drew Carey thing. But that was a play off of the title, What's My Line? Where a celebrity panel, for the most part, each time it was the same celebrities, tried to guess what somebody's job was.
Right.
And so this is a big old show back in the 50s and 60s.
That, yeah.
And this woman was on the panel and was basically about the smartest person on the panel. And she would have celebrity parties at her place in Manhattan or wherever it was. Like I said, this New York penthouse. So interestingly, for March and her story, this is someone to look into. Women and really anybody. It's a very interesting person, Dorothy Kilgallen. Okay, that's the end of my quick hits. I just, for some reason, guns are now allowed in the ring. I don't know. I think we just shot the other fight. And he's down! 9! 10! He's out! Oh, well, he's bleeding too! Profusely from his heart.
You're that good of a shot?
I don't know why we shot the other fighter.
I don't know. I don't have a clue. You need to work on that. Still need to work on it.
Yes, we do.
I'm just like a little exhausted. I'm getting to the point now where I'm kind of hallucinating during tax season, and then we had the daylight saving time, which I'm not complaining about at all.
Nice. We learned our lesson.
Yeah, did you hear me?
In our episode, we were like, we always call it daylight savings time.
Yeah.
And then we found out in our episode, one of our earlier ones, that it was daylight saving time.
Yep, and that's how I say it now.
Bam!
I like to be correct. And we survived. I tried to go to bed earlier. I've been now waking up like at 8, and only because I don't think people realize how late at night I work. And so at 7:55 in the morning, they're texting me with stuff, and I don't need to get up.
Is it the first week of it? Are we still in the first week?
Yeah, it was. It was just Sunday.
Okay, yeah. As we record this, it just turned over last like 4 days ago.
Yeah, and so it's
3 days ago. Well, 4 days ago if you count Saturday night. Yeah.
Right. So I like tax season just really just drains me, and so and I'm not complaining. My body will survive, and unlike you, like you've said, I have a very lax schedule to where I can kind of sleep in when I want.
Unstructured, a little less structured.
People would just quit freaking texting me and waking me up in the morning.
You know what you do?
I've had bonbons.
Airplane mode.
Then I wouldn't remember. I'm not smart enough to turn it back on. I commend you for being smart enough to turn it back on. You know what?
Why don't they have that on phones? Why can't you just schedule airplane mode?
Yeah, like turn my phone. Don't let it. Anyway, because I have a home phone. If they really needed me, if it was important, someone could call me on the home phone, which that's not what happens. I'm just getting text messages from people.
I have faith in you that sometime in between 9 and 1 o'clock, you'd remember that your phone was still on airplane mode.
I might just be like, this is such a nice day. No one's messing with me. That would not be good. So anyway, and then so during tax season, I like to watch, I like to binge listen to a bunch of TV shows. And so
were any of them
24?
This is another reference back to the fact we're on episode 24. Holy crap.
24 is a lot. No.
Anyway, so you're binge watching.
So 1 year I watched Vampire Diaries. Well, I listened to Vampire Diaries. Last year was Supernatural. I started Supernatural. It was like 15
I've watched
seasons.
quite a few seasons, but there are so many seasons that I didn't get close to. 15.
So
I think I've watched a good 7 or 8 of them.
I finished it, but not during tax season. In 1 year, because I just watched it all the time, or I put it on the background.
I love
to listen.
those guys, man.
But this year, I wanted to watch Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones. And with my manifesting, I'm supposed to be kind of like not watching such dark, horrific things. And so I kind of watch a lot of vampire and a lot of sci-fi. And so I went in and I tried to watch the cartoons. And they said, well, you need to... Boomerang has them. And so I bought the app. Boomerang. It's just an app, and it's like $32 a year, but you get all the cartoons, the Jetsons and all that stuff. So during tax season this year, I have watched a day of Scooby-Doo and a day of the Jetsons. I started Lost World, or I can't remember, Land of the Lost or something like that. But the funny thing is, the Jetson ones, I'm like, we have so much of that technology nowadays. You're just kind of like, we have that. As I'm talking to my things. I have to watch the
Jetsons. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, like I can turn my stuff on. I don't have to touch anything. Things happen. I mean, I don't have a wardrobe that dresses me or puts my makeup on, but it's coming. It's coming very soon. And so, anyway, and so there's really not a lot going on unless you want to know about taxes, and that's boring. But I can tell you that I am exhausted I just found out today that they are canceling even more events and possibly canceling kids going to school. Kids, the younger generation for the most part, because of this coronavirus Novid stuff. I am exhausted.
So here's the thing. Literally, I heard somebody say yesterday that the interesting thing is that what's saving this a little bit, and Chris is someone's opinion, and so I don't know how informed they were, was that they have not said it really targets kids. Or they specifically said it, that it doesn't seem to target kids. But
Right.
that won't matter because
Doesn't matter.
this current 99.99... I accidentally hear something on TV. If it's not on Ion television, it's about the effing coronavirus.
I'm exhausted because what it reminds me of is the radio show The War of the Worlds. And that show was actually, it made people panicky because it was just a radio show people were tuning into. And it was so real that they thought we were being invaded by aliens.
Take that times a million because that
Yeah.
thing was a live production that was a few hours long.
Yeah.
And this is like hours upon hours on every place you look.
Every minute. And so...
And the details that a health professional would tell you if you ask them in person have nothing to do with what they're trumpeting into the ether at hours per day.
Right. And to me, it's exhausting. But then my conspiracy hat comes on because I always believe that there's a reason for everything. And the first thing I will say is that, and you can disagree with me if you want to, people out there, but the world hates the United States. They don't like us. And they make fun of us because they're like, watch this. We're going to do this. Then they're just going to give us money. And then we're like, we can't afford to do this for America.
You mean the foreign aid stuff?
Yeah, we're going to give all this money to these other countries. Watch this. They're going to give it to us. We need some money. And the U.S. goes, send them a couple $1 billion. And then we say, hey, we're over here needing some money. And they're like, you're piggybacking off the government. And you're,
We mean here,
yeah,
citizens.
that's how we are.
Well, but the same problem's this. I mean, some people minimize how much... I'm a libertarian, but libertarian also means I might be free market, but what we have is not free market. And so you talk about $1 billion here, $1 billion there for some foreign countries. I mean, what about the $1 billion there, the $1 billion here for companies?
Right. Yeah. So we have all this stuff going on, and like I said, they don't like us. And so to me, they're sitting back in their high-rise apartments, and they're laughing at America, and they're watching us through like this little closed caption TV because they probably can hack into all of our satellites, and they're just laughing at us going, they just canceled everything. Watch this. We're going to spread another rumor, and now they've bought all the toilet paper. And guess what? We're going to tell people this. Look at them. They're just jumping through our hoops. And so now we're canceling these major events. Our economy was starting to build, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, no, we can't have that. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to cause a scare, a mass hysteria. Our stock market's going to start to fall. So people that follow that are freaking out because their money's gone. The business owners are being told, you can't be open. We're not doing these events. These event planners have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars.
At time of recording, there is one city you said that actually said, yeah, you can't do anything anymore. I mean, the mayor.
Yeah, mayor's like, we're canceling all of our city events because we don't want anybody to do it. We've got colleges that are wanting to maybe go to online school. Like, how is that going to work? You're just going to zoom in 1,200 kids? How are you going to do that? I mean, and if you could do that before, why aren't you doing it now? Why are these kids, once again, going back to the Jetsons? We don't need to leave our house. We just zoop-da-pop-a-doop-da-pop. So we have all that stuff. Then we have the big tournament for basketball is not canceled. It's just nobody gets to go watch it, I believe. I think the tournament that's getting ready to happen,
the major March Madness, they've made decisions on it.
I think
because we're insane.
Because my friend said, I guess they're giving back everybody their money because they're not going to let nobody go see the games. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, people
That's
are
where
depending
the
on that.
The Ivy League had canceled their conference tournament, which, like I said, to me is the most disappointing. I said off air. To me, it's the most disappointing because those are the future elites, almost by definition, if you go to a Ivy League school. And the most important thing for them to remember is not the nuts and bolts of kids. I mean, people who are 18 to 24 are infinitesimally less likely to be affected by this in any major way than someone who's 60 or older. And the entire school, outside of the professors, are made up by people in that age range that is infinitesimally unlikely to be affected by this in any major way. And yet they're canceling a whole tournament. And it's like, where's the nuance in the intelligent analysis? I was like, well, it's because you're the Ivy League school and you're the future elite. So the most important thing for you to understand is that we need you to back a main narrative when we have one. That's what we elites have to do together. Not point out nuances and distinctions and not, keep from overreacting. I have very rarely been more discouraged by our mass media than right now.
As we have been scared multiple times. I mean, if you remember when 9/11 happened here, people were still scared because they thought that they had infiltrated every place. People weren't on the subways and all this kind of stuff. That lasted about a month. But they didn't close really a lot of stuff down. The Boston marathon bombings, they had a marathon the next year. We came back. It's like, yeah, I know you caught that person, but there's still other crazy people out there. It could happen anywhere. They made us move all of our parades to Saturdays now because we used to have them during the week, and we're downtown, and they were so much more fun. But they're like, no, because the Capitol's right here, and, well, Homeland Security wants this to happen, and now we have to follow all these rules because, you know what? Out of the billion parades a year, we've had one bombing, and so now every parade we're gonna act like they're gonna be bombed. All right, that's perfectly fine. But we didn't cancel the parades. We didn't cancel the races. We just take better precaution, like washing your hands, using paper towels to leave the bathroom. Don't touch people. Don't shake hands.
And hey, if you do have a history of respiratory illnesses kicking your butt, then you're definitely a candidate to maybe be extra careful.
And you're always careful, though. You're already careful.
But that doesn't mean that we have to assume it. I told you this off the air, too. H1N1, looked it up.
Right.
And literally, we had one person who was a famous virologist saying it could affect billions of people.
Billions.
And then we had another person soon after. This is like in 2003, that one person said it. Then sometime after that, I remember it was 2003 or 2005, another person whose, by the way, title, because apparently the position was made, included, H1N1 or avian virus, like, coordinator of H1 and other blah, blah, blah viruses. So first of all, virologist. Second of all, another person who was involved with it, one of these, like, I don't know, WHO, World Health Organization or something. He said up to 150 million people could die. And then we find out that probably the last time anybody bothered to tally it, because it's been so low, I told you 370 off the air, but it could have been like 670. Point is, it was well under 1,000 people from 2003 to 2013 died of this. How much money was put into it? It was over $7 billion.
Yeah, $7.65 billion.
So here's what's happening, and this is, you always got to be careful when they're trying to say something is a sacred cow. They want you to believe it's a sacred cow so that they can get funding for their research and development. Because remember, right now, there's literally no particular treatment for it. You would just go be treated for your respiratory illness. Right. There's no treatment. But they want money to make it now. And if they get, and guess what? What did Trump sign for this? $8.3 billion?
Yep.
Billion. That's real money, people. We keep acting like billions nothing. So what happened is that really, how many of you have taken H1N1 vaccine? So you get all this money to supposedly develop the vaccine. And what they're doing is really getting money at the front instead of the product ever even having panned out as to whether it's even in demand or not.
It says 6.15 billion of the 7.65 billion was spent or just set aside, for most of it, for vaccine purchases and related supplies, including syringes, needles, antivirals, and other support stuff. All right. So my daughter had H1N1, and it was probably in about 2010 because she was in college at Washburn, and she got sick. We went into the doctor's office, and it was probably like when the mass hysteria was out about H1N1 and everyone's going to die, which lasted probably about 3 months, 2 or 3 months. We still did not close anything down, by the way, that I can remember. I just remember people saying, wash your hands. And nobody went out and bought toilet paper, so that's weird too. But my daughter got it, and she was really, really sick. We took her into the doctor at the university, because they have a doctor there, and she was diagnosed with H1N1. And she had 104 fever. And the doctor said, well, we have to turn it into CDC. We have to do this. We're going to give her that. And I was like, okay, well, wait. I mean, is this bad? And she's like, not really. It's just an upper respiratory. The fever, what it's doing is it's fighting off the stuff. We don't want the fever to get down below this much for about a day or so. Let the fever do its work. She'll be fine. She's healthy. She'll be good. And a little bit later, my daughter, about 5 days later, she was done. And they said, now that you've had H1N1, you should never be able to get it again. It's something that you're not going to get again. But we weren't even she goes, if you got this 7 months ago, it'd have been mad hysteria. They probably would have tried to not make you get to go here and do this, and they would have done that. And I didn't get H1N1. She was in my house the whole time because that's where she lived. So where are these where did the syringes and the needles and all these vaccinations go for these pandemic flus, as they call them?
Sacred cow, man. If you throw a sacred cow out there enough, then no one, not even the supposed anti-deep state Trump person, President Trump, is going to say, come on, man. Because the right thing to do, especially in campaign season, is to, you've got to look like you care. Who cares? I mean, I care about $8.3 billion being wasted.
Well, but it was both. It was
that's
both
not
ways.
caring. I mean,
I believe he said it both ways. He was like, at first, he was like, "You guys, we shouldn't panic about this."
Which
what?
seems
and
reasonable.
Then all of a sudden, it's like, what?
How dare you say you can't panic?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna. What am I doing again?
Spending a lot of money, even though we're not panicking. We'll spend as though.
I want to panic. I'm supposed to panic.
We're not panicking, but we're going to spend a lot of money we're panicking, because that way people's pockets get lined.
And then when someone said, well, he wasn't going to pay for it, and then all of a sudden he was going to pay for it, it's like the people are like, but he wasn't still going to pay for it, and I'm sitting there going, pay for what?
There's nothing.
What are we going to do? So mark my words. It is 3/11/2020. When you're listening to this on 3/11/2021, I want you to comment if you went and got your carnivorous or whatever flu, whatever it's called.
There won't even be a vaccine yet. That's the funny thing. It's just that. So what they're doing is getting all the money up front to supposedly research and develop a vaccine,
and then everything will be gone.
Then whether or not there's a demand for the vaccine later on is beside the point, because they got billions of dollars. When I was at Payless Corporate, real free enterprise, the goal every year was just to hopefully profit by $200 million. Right. Now we never hit that in any time. I was only there 6 years. I mean, you know how much more? 8 billion. 200 millions per billion, right? So that's 40 times that they just get as a handout.
And so what happens in a couple months when we figure out we don't need all this stuff? Are they going to give the $8 billion back? Is this like they write a check? No, they hoard the money and they're just like, and it's gone, and then they just wait for the next one. It's just irritating to me. I mean, it's just
we didn't want to cover coronavirus much, but we did.
And we're not even covering that. We're covering the stupidity. Stop being scared about it. I mean, I'm sorry if you get it. If you get sick,
it's a real thing. If you have those situations, but the honest point is that they have to treat you for the respiratory illness. There's no specific treatment for coronavirus. And there won't be.
Right.
Anytime soon.
Right. No, there will not. Okay, so moving on.
Something more fun
Yeah.
that we should get together and do.
What?
Instead of staying away from each other, we should...
Eat candy?
Just not at the same time on the same bar.
Right. Don't eat. Yeah, you guys have to. Don't share candy. I don't share candy anyway. I guess now I can say, no, you cannot have a taste of my pie. You could have the coronavirus. So now I get to eat all my own dessert. I don't have to share.
So
in I believe this was in Brazil.
yes,
They used they started out. They took the Hershey, which I mean I never even noticed the her and the she and the Hershey.
of what? Oh, of Hershey candy.
Yeah,
yes.
of Hershey. They took her and she bars honoring great women, and they basically took women artists and made some really cool labels. And for celebrating International Women's Day, which I believe was last weekend, was like on a day
I think
or something.
there's nothing wrong with that. Any company that wants to just
No.
kind of do some honorary stuff and raise awareness of people who've done notable things is fine. It's good. Musicians, illustrators, other artists. Probably most of these are South American and Brazilian.
Well, this is all Brazil. This is
since it is in Brazil, I
This
kind of
is all
figure most of
Brazil.
these people.
But in Brazil, Hershey says 52% of its leadership is female, including Michelle Buck, the global CEO, BECT, Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo also has majority female leadership. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I'll tell you what, in the place where I work, and I don't like to be too specific ever, but we have female leadership all over the place, just FYI.
Well, but the reason that I pulled this out, because I thought that was really cool, but, you've got this great thing going on, and then all of a sudden at the bottom, the comment comes out from someone, and the person that posted this is she is hugely involved in the women's rights and women attorneys, and she's on all these committees about women, and she posted this to be proud about, what they did, and all of a sudden the comment said, yet they use child labor for their cocoa beans. Okay, so here's the deal. We don't get to tell Brazil how to treat their people, all right? Because that would be like them saying, did you know the United States lets their people live outside in the snow and the freezing cold? How horrible are they? But we do. So we have to quit. Everything has to have a negative connotation with it. And if you don't have something good to say about something, sometimes just keep your flipping mouth shut.
Crowdsourced response, unfortunately. You're going to have some positive responses and you're going to have some negative responses when the responses are crowdsourced, a la social media,
right,
and comments. Someone's going to say something where it's like, and I might, that person might be in a bad mood that day.
Right.
I mean, who knows why? Or they're like, that's their little pet peeve cause is child labor.
It could be.
And so whenever they can possibly comment on child labor,
right,
they're going to mention it if there's a connection at all.
But see, this is what I would do. I would go to that person's page and I would share that story. And I would say, I think this is great what they did, but what about the child labor things? I would put that on my page. I would take the conversation to my page. I would never really want to go to someone else's.
That's a comment on the social media. It wasn't even an article.
No, this is my friend's comment from another friend of mine. So
I've done that before, accidentally, and I felt bad about it. When someone's just trying to be generally positive, and then all of a sudden you get into the nuance, and instead you're right. Unless it's truly political, like, okay, no, you think this candidate's the best thing since sliced bread, and obviously that's open field. That's like your candidate sucks dog poop, but when it's just about, hey, positivity, and yeah, that's where you'd hope you can make the distinction to perhaps you have something to say about it, but maybe instead of raining on the parade right on their post,
take it over to your page.
Yeah,
take it to your page.
I agree.
Take it to your page. So we, a couple episodes ago, we went over introvert because I found that.
So we're transitioning the main topic now, correct?
We are. And so I found 10 strange behaviors of an authentic empath. And what I think is really kind of cool is we've got extroverts, we've got introverts, and empath is part of all that stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting overlap.
But
or at least some overlaps in some ways.
Right.
It's
but
interesting
the thing is
dynamic
that,
to
like,
analyze them.
not like all introverts, as we talked, aren't all the same. Like just today, one of my friends who was talking about something, she says, "Oh, I don't do that because I'm an introvert." And I was like, "You're an introvert?" Because I don't know her outside of meetings and work. So that was kind of shocking to me because most times I could kind of tell. And when they say that, I'm thinking, "You're a nerd." But I don't know, like I didn't get the introvert vibe from you. Because I mean, I'm a nerd, so maybe that makes my introvert part. But when I read empath stuff, I think, wow, that's more me. Not all of it, but I have a lot of things. But I am extroverted, and I think maybe the empath part is what I associate with introvert, which is actually just the empath part.
Well, whereas we discuss and we'll find out some of the reasons that you sometimes react in an introverted way could be because you're empathic. Because we'll find out that because when you're this way, sometimes you need to limit your exposure to people when you're very empathic. Right. Just as almost a self-preservation strategy.
Right. So. And so anyway, so the first one is you take on other people's energy. And it says you can't avoid it. This is the essential trait of being an empath. You innately feel others people's emotions and energy. Then you begin to mirror in the same emotion. And this is so true of like I can get really into it. But here's the problem with me is because I know what I do, that energy starts to annoy me and it actually makes me almost kind of sick. Meaning, like when someone comes up to me and they're just a burst of energy and it's too much for me, I get a little dizzy and I'm just kind of like, okay, like I can't even concentrate on this anymore.
Do you mean a burst of energy in any direction or particularly negative?
No, just a burst of energy. Just in any kind, even positive energy.
I don't know how you can do podcasts with me then. Because sometimes I come in here with a burst of energy.
That burst of energy.
But enough about Taco Bell. Anyway.
So this is something this is not me. If someone is crying, I'll tear up. I will, like today, one of the speakers was talking and I was tearing up because she was crying almost. And I was tearing up, but I don't cry. So my eyes will tear, but if you start to cry, my eyes will water because I'm sad, but I will hold the cry back. I'm just not a crier. But not every time, because sometimes if it's not a true sad story, like if I'm not feeling your story, then I'm like, what the heck are they crying for? Like, this is for show and this is ridiculous. But if you really do have that passion, my eyes will tear up and I don't cry. So if you turn and look over and my eyes are my eyes are tearing up, then there's something very serious about that. And if someone around you is a negative or fearful, you begin to sink low with them. That is true. Their negative energy basically just makes me tired. And so I have to be conscious who they are and what they're about so that I can actually put more positive energy out there so that their energy does not drag me down. It's a lot of work. And it says the upside is that once you become aware of that's the norm, you can help it. And that's when I get to know somebody, I can adjust myself to be around them.
Well, and more specifically, just that you're an empath.
Right.
And once you really realize, oh, maybe that's because of the empath, and the reason I'm feeling crummy is because I do pick up on other people's vibes.
Right. It's not mine.
Then you can be more conscious of it,
right,
and try to work things to help you out.
Okay, so our next one was high natural intuition. Empaths have unique skills that the average person doesn't seem to have. You feel things physically.
Oh, yeah, physically, you're right. No, psychically.
Psychically, yeah, psychically. So psychically, here's one of the things I was telling you about. I'll wake up in the morning, and like when you have like a big test, and your stomach is kind of queasy, or you've got an interview and your stomach is really nervous and you're just nervous, I'll wake up in the morning and I am just nervous. And I'm like, what did I do? So I go to my calendar and I look at everything and I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And if it's crippling, I'll call some of my closest people and I'll be like, what's going on today?
Try to track it down.
But if I can't track it down, and all of a sudden I get a phone call that says, I had to go in today. Like my friend, one day we were supposed to go down to Kansas City, and I woke up and I didn't feel right. And her sister sends me a text message and says, we had to cancel the trip because her sister is in and had emergency surgery today. As soon as the emergency surgery, she told me that, everything was gone. I felt much better because I almost was about to call and say, I don't feel like I could go to Kansas City today because I don't feel right. Now, they're identical twins. And the funny thing about that was her sister felt something, but I also felt it. And once I knew what it was and that she was okay, everything went away.
So this talks about how you can know what others are feeling. Key word in this number 2 is feel. You feel things physically.
Right.
You know what others are feeling just by seeing them. You're saying not even necessarily seeing them, even just having a sense if they're close enough to you.
But if I see them, what helps me coach the people that I'm around or help in consulting them is that I understand what they're feeling. They don't have to tell me. So I'm able to talk to them in the level that they need to be talked to, as opposed to some people can't read that at all. And they come over and you're having a bad day and you come over to them and you're just like, rah, 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 rah. Yeah. And they can't tell you're having a bad day, but I can feel that. So I'm thinking, so, maybe today we need to take it easy a little bit. And they're just, I'm going to go with them. I
believe in natural empathy for sure, but some of this is like some of those lessons you read on social media posts and the like, where they say, hey, just remember when you've seen a certain person, you don't know what happened with them that day.
Right.
And so some of it can be trained a little bit just through awareness.
Right,
to
exactly.
At least, even if you can't feel it specifically, you can consider that they might be having a bad day and that they're not always like this. And then maybe because you're at least considering it, you're paying more attention to their, facial expressions, and that helps you lead, you know what, it looks like they are having a bad day. Maybe it's not how they are all the time.
Well, it's also not thinking of yourself all the time. I think empaths are more about other people. So I pay attention to other people. I'm not really thinking about me. So if I have a bad waitress, the first thing I ask the manager is she okay? Did something happen? Well, why? Because she sucked. And they always ask me that. Why did you ask that? Well, because you never know. Her mom could have died. Her dog could have died. And maybe that's what is leading her to be the way she is. And usually they go, no.
And the end of this is what leads to number 3, because it says, one problem is that because you feel these things, it's hard to shut it down. And in fact, your intuition, it says anyway, never shuts down. And therefore, number 3...
Yeah, people drain me easily.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where we talk about things like, well, geez, it seems like it's kind of crossing over with being an introvert. And we think, well, maybe your situation is when you say I'm an extrovert with introversion tendencies or who needs my introverted time, it could be related to this, because an empath is constantly picking up on energies and negative energies. And therefore, you got to be careful about how many people you care for or interact with per period of time.
Oh, yeah. It's like... like some people have like 20,000 words a day, and there's days I go by and I think I talked with people for like 250,000 words a day. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I'm so done. And then I look back, I can't even remember what happened during the day. It's just, it's so much.
And if you do too much in that direction, this section says, well, then you don't have a lot left for yourself.
No. Hence,
even just the energy.
Hence why I drink a cup of tea every evening, and I try to watch my one little TV show or 2 TV shows just for me, because I've got to wind down and I want my time. But that's about all I get.
It's like the Superman scenario. You know, whenever you watch one of these movies, it's like, what they'll have some totally, it doesn't even make sense. It's like they're disingenuous and go, oh, why didn't Superman do this? Oh, I'm sorry, he was busy doing as much as he possibly could. He just didn't get to your wife when she, you know, fell off the curb.
Right.
You know, so the idea for some of this people draining you easily, yes, you try to help people, but you can only help so many people. You're not superhuman, so you've got to make that strategy change of, you know, pulling that circle in a little bit and still, you know, using that energy that you inherently have.
Right.
But you can't spread it too thin or you'll be exhausted. So you can take some strategy there, and it might mean that the person that maybe you see him in the supermarket, you can't talk to all those people, even if you feel like at some point you need to pull it in potentially. You know, I mean, that's for you to decide when and how much.
Yeah, but the next one is you attract broken people. So
this is
true because, you know, I have had people reach out to me. I have never met them in my entire life. And they'll reach out to me on Facebook and they'll say, you're so inspirational to me. Thank you so much, Kim. I really wish that you lived closer or whatever because I always watch what you do. And they're not draining me, but they're coming to me. And then next thing you know, I'm like this. Oh, and then they go like this, blah, 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 like everything. Well, my husband left me and, you know, my kid this, and I don't have insurance. And it's not that they ever ask me for anything. It's just
they're unloading.
They just tell me. And I can be in a store standing in an aisle looking for something, and someone will come over to me and they'll say, do you know where the cereal is? And I'll be, yeah, it's right over. It's on aisle, it's like 3 aisles over. And they'll go, yeah, my husband, blah, 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 long story. And I'm just thinking, and I just look at him and I talk right back to him. And my daughter used to get so annoyed, she'd just roll her eyes and she'd walk away like, Mother, we need to get in and out of here. And now you're talking to a total stranger. And I always felt, and I always tell people, but if they needed to tell somebody something that's going to fix and help them later on in life, then I have the time to listen to them. And sometimes I'm in a hurry and sometimes I'm like this, but it happens more than anyone would ever know.
It's a mystical thing, the energy that we put out. And it's funny, I was talking to my sister just earlier before I got here, and I'm like, were you at the dog park? Because I think I saw you leaving the dog park here a few days ago. She's like, yeah, I was there. So she's telling me about how one of her dogs did not handle it well. Like, it actually stressed him out. But she said, so this dog of the two, the other one just runs around, but this one tends to stay right there where she is. But once in a while, she'll just go right up to a particular person. So this dog, this dog was stressing this last bark park, and so much so she was foaming at the mouth and everything. But then my sister tells me the story of this particular dog mostly it stays with me. But sometime, like one time, there was a whole group of girls, and she jumped up on the bench and sat right in front of one of the girls.
Right.
So it's like this energy situation. Sometimes people can... First of all, if you walk into the room with a feeling of, yeah, I'm all that in a bag of chips, or you walk into the room just feeling like, I feel sexy today, and everybody should know. Well, guess what? More people pick up on that.
Right.
And there is this mystical energy, and part of this thing is you attract it. People will somehow pick up on your energy and therefore approach you. This particular thing says, once you make the decision, which I think a lot of introverts have made, we're masters of this, to not, it says this is great until you run out of energy, which is a similar thing as we said with the last thing. When an empath begins to ignore strangers with problems, they magically stop approaching you. So introverts are great at going, not today, homie. I don't got time. I don't want to talk.
Right.
Well, that's good or bad. It's either, and then it becomes a chicken or an egg. You know, maybe they do like to help people, but they also, I don't know, they learn their lesson or something. So they're introverts. And so in that sense, an empath can take a lesson from some of the introverts who just know to go through with kind of a tunnel vision.
Right.
And that person, they tried to talk to me. I'm just going to clip that short as possible. You know, one, yeah, great. Yeah, they're right over there. have a good one, and then off you walk. You
well,
know?
and that is exactly true, because if I need to do something and I don't have time for people, I will be unapproachable. So one thing that I'm unapproachable is I'm totally unapproachable at a bar. You would think that drunk people would, but they don't. That's just an odd thing to me. Is
you mean you make you're saying people sense the energy?
No guys, so I'll be at the bar and there'll be guys walking around. Guys will walk over to anybody and everything. All my married friends, and I could stand and I even done it, but I've done it before. I'm like, just watch and learn, because they're not going to come over to me. So I go over and I stand. And my guy friends say the reason they don't come over to you is you give off too much confidence. And these guys in here are looking for low self-esteem women to take home, have sex with, use, and kick to the curb. And they see you and they're like, yeah, she's not the one. She's not the one.
So a fairly attractive, just a young lady with her friend at the gym, and it said "not interested" right on her shirt. So you're throwing that off without it having to be on your shirt.
I don't even have to do it. My friends. Well, one of my guy friends goes, yeah, but you don't give off a slut vibe, and that's really the only thing they're trying to do. Is they're trying to find a hookup for the night, and they look at you and they're thinking she's not it.
Some dudes are going to be like, oh, is she trying to does it look like this woman's looking at packages or looking at guys' butts or something like that? Or is she just smiling confidently and looking you right in the eyes? Because there's a flirty smile and there's just a confident smile.
Right.
I got my shit together.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Right. I don't need you. We could still go have fun, but I guess not, because, all right, whatever. So anyway, crowds have a negative impact on you.
Another introvert kind of overlap.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
And I'm not afraid of crowds. I don't mind crowds, but they do suck the energy out of me a lot.
But yet you purposely are
around.
Very extroverted.
Yeah. I mean, I'm around them, but I have to go and recharge. I don't mind. When you say introverted, say an introverted,
everything's a continuum.
Why do you not want to be in a large crowd?
I don't want to be around, you might go, no, I don't want to be around 10 people at once. I say, listen, I like to people watch, but then I can do that whole, you ain't talking to me and I'm not talking to you. I'm just watching you, homie. That's it. Right. I'm people watching. You're not talking to me and I'm not talking to you. Whereas you're going to go into the room and decide.
I talk to everybody. But I talk to everybody because I like to know people. And that's, I sometimes I feel as if that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I help people.
Maybe that's the empathy because you feel like a person would want someone to be interested in them.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So living location is important. Impacts?
Well, the negative impact, too, and you mentioned this when we did our rundown, was an aggressive person going by you because can make you feel, can give you an energetic slap in the face. And all that means is you can really feel it with someone with a lot of negative energy. That's the way we decided to interpret that.
Right.
With a lot of negative energy, like an aggressive person, you just whoa. You can tell.
I can be like, that is not but I can walk up to somebody and I could be like, and walk away, go, that's not a good person. That's not that's not I
feel like I've got a BS detector, but I don't know how quickly I can tell immediately.
I'm pretty.
If I talk to them for long,
it's not even talking to them. It's just I walk up and you just get this feeling, and and sometimes it's not right. Sometimes I'm interpreting it wrong, and they're actually way better than I thought they were. So it's not like I go, I don't like that person. I'll give them a chance, but. Normally, I'm just there's something I just don't feel right. It doesn't happen very often. I don't meet a lot of those people, but I think it's because I've had enough experience with people like that I've just known that I know I have the same feeling that I get from them. Like my ex-husbands, my ex-father-in-law, just bad people. I felt that feeling, and when I walk over, I'm like, oh, I get a queasy feeling around somebody, there are guys that I've been at a bar or
Wheezy.
whatever, and I'm I would not be left alone with them. I wouldn't go someplace, even around a corner, just to talk. I would not trust them. I wouldn't go outside if they're outside by myself.
Right.
I just and they're
Sometimes you get that feeling you need to just go with it, women.
Right.
I mean, anybody really, but
you
women
get
especially.
That gut feeling, go with it. Every
Don't say, you know what?
time.
No, I do. I'm going to go walk over right by them in the park because that's not nice. No, if you feel like, nah, I'm going to avoid them a little bit. Avoid them a little bit.
Avoid them. Right. Right. All right. So empaths tend to feel the pain of the world, whether they want or not. Many empaths choose to live in areas where the population is much smaller. I think that would be true. I would be in a small city. I could not see myself in New York City. That would be too fast for my brain.
What about Central Park? I mean, so there's people, but there's space, and it's pretty. Would you like walking around Central Park?
I could walk Central Park, but I wouldn't live there. I wouldn't live in New York City. I think it'd be too much. Just like I wouldn't live in Dallas or Atlanta. I travel to all those places. All my friends live in small communities on the outside, just like Kansas City. I don't think I would be a Kansas City, Missouri kind of person to live downtown in the, up in the sky and the condos. It's not me. It would just...
It's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there.
Right.
Both energetically and physically.
Unless my sugar daddy wants to buy me a pad, then I'm there. I mean, as long as I'm not paying for it, I could probably suffer through. I mean, I'd have to pick out and make sure the pool, sauna, hot tub, all that stuff. But
you heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I'm still looking for a sugar daddy. I'll take Sweet and Low Daddies. No, because that's toxic. Is it stevia? Stevia daddy?
Yeah.
What's the healthy sugar?
Stevia's right. Stevia. Let's call the whole thing off.
All right. You are very sensitive. Now, this is not me. There's no sensitivity
some of these seem to overlap,
me.
but a story's a story, so we see where they overlap.
Yeah, they're not. I'm not sensitive. I apologize. I say it how it is. And I try to be sensitive, not to hurt your feelings, but I'm also not going to lie.
We talked about this. If you look into this, we said some empaths might even feel physical symptoms that are connected to what others around them are experiencing, which you were saying. But as far as, being careful about what to say, you're saying you're direct.
I'm direct.
But remember when he said that when we were doing the rundown, I said, so the Chiefs win. You guys may have heard.
Yeah, I might have heard.
Anyway, and so there's a victory parade, and there's this famous video, at least just among Kansas City Chiefs fans, nobody else cares, where this dude is up in a tree to try to get a better view, and his pants are halfway down. You can see his butt. Who knows why? Because it doesn't look like he's trying to really show it. He's trying to watch a parade, but there he is. You can see his pants sagging without any underwear on. Well, this dude drops out of the tree.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that.
And supposedly, he hits every branch. He hits more than one branch, and I won't watch it.
I won't watch it either.
I mean, I hear that people think it's funny, and I'm not going to watch it.
I don't like those
so that's
America's Funniest Home Videos.
Me neither.
No, not watching it.
I actually do watch those sometimes, but what I won't watch, as soon as I see that someone is about to do some embarrassing, it's set up that this person embarrasses themselves. It's an accident, but they embarrass themselves.
Right.
I usually don't end up watching that.
I can't either.
And that's why I don't like the impractical jokers. I'm not saying sometimes it's funny, but I don't tend to watch it.
I don't like that either because I don't like people. I don't like people
purposely putting someone in an awkward situation.
Or like ridiculousness on MTV.
Even though they tell them afterwards, and a lot of them are good sports or wouldn't show up there, it's like...
Still, I don't like... I'm not a practical joker. I don't want someone to do a practical joke on me.
Impractical jokers would do something like, hey, you're talking to your teller, and he says something like, is that your mom back there? Man, your mom's fine. I think I remember seeing her at a strip joint here about 15 years ago. What's her name? That type of stuff. That's awkward. I don't want, and the funny thing is how this guy reacts. They're given the idea in the dude's ear, and he's supposed to follow through.
And a lot of it might be fake, but I don't care. Even when, like the other day, Chelsea said she was watching a movie. It's one of the Star Wars movies, and she goes, I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I left. I've never left a movie before because her and I have the same thing when we're watching something. Like Criminal Minds. So
I watch that all the time.
I had to stop watching Criminal Minds right when that guy got kidnapped and put into a cage. The young kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. That happened, and I was feeling ill because I just, it doesn't even have to be real for me to feel bad for a character, not an animal. I'm sorry. I don't have anything towards animals. It's all people, which is why it tears me apart to see people living outside I can't, like, I don't understand, but on television, I will not watch it.
Here's my other example. I told you the one came up where it's like, oh, female reporter falls over herself trying to interview a male bodybuilder competitor. And I started watching first 10 seconds, like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
she's going to say just something awkward and embarrassing. And she already, I'm sure enough people have watched it and said, I don't want to see her be
she's
that
being
awkward.
Laughed at. That's humiliating.
I'm trying to think of one other major thing where it's always about people being embarrassed, and there's something else. It's a major, like, institution or... Oh, well, it might even be like the American Idol things where it's... Oh, yeah, if I'm watching that, it looks like... What's his face? The guy from Britain with the black hair?
Yeah.
Simon. It looks like it's going to be bad. I don't want to see that. I really don't.
Right,
okay, so that was your very sensitive.
Yeah, that's
even
very
though you
sensitive.
said, hey, you try to be direct, we realize...
I'm not a sensitive person there, but I am sensitive to people when they're being hurt. Like when they're being hurt. Yes, I am very... I am not sympathetic, though. It's very weird. I am not sympathetic. I am empathetic, but I don't have any sympathy for a lot of people.
You stay logical on that side?
So, like, okay, so I look outside and I'm thinking, why are these people, like, outside? They need to be brought in. But I don't feel sorry for them because something led them to that decision to be outside, whether it's drugs or mental illness or something like that. I have a very hard problem, which that's like I have to really try hard to be sympathetic because I just don't have it in me sometimes. But I'm very empathetic, which totally different.
You still have
things.
an analytical side.
Totally different.
Yeah.
So you can see through lies. Yep, I love it. I love when someone's lying to me and I'm like this. Oh, really? And my brain will remember everything you say in a conversation, and then
don't turn me into the detective.
And then you'll be like, so Carla and I went to the bar the other night, and this girl named Rhonda came up to us, and she started crap with my friend Carol. And then a little bit later, you'll tell me the story and you'll be like, my friend Carol and I were at Taco Bell, and then this girl came up to her. I'm like, I thought you were at the bar. Because I will remember
the taco
everything.
bar.
The taco bar. Oh,
and then you're like, no.
Yeah, no. But even if I'm not listening to you, so you could be in a conversation behind me. If I can hear you, my brain remembers it. And then you'll be telling me the story, and I'll be like this. That is not what you just told her. Like, you literally were trying to impress her, and now you're just telling me some crap. I know. So, yep, I see right through the lies. And emotional healing is your gift. Due to the endless compassion and time given to the problems, I have saved marriages. I have saved someone from committing suicide a final time. She did commit. She attempted it multiple times, but I was the one that helped her not do it.
And this section says something that we had said otherwise, that you should focus the ability on your loved ones. Not everyone is deserving of your healing. Only use your gifts when necessary.
Yep.
Don't downplay yourself if you're an empath. People would kill to have a friend like you.
Right. It just means I'm very nice.
So this point here is that because you do give that compassion and time, in that sense, you're healing people.
Right. I do. I mean, someone will come to me and say, this happened to me, and I say, Mep, this is what you need to do. And normally it's not what they want to hear. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, but I will help you. I will help you solve the problem. And this is what I get all the time.
So do you think people who can keep that thought? Do you have? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Let me write it down. You keep talking, and hopefully I don't forget what I thought. Okay. Oh, yeah, I got it. Go ahead. You said this is what people do all the time.
My friends, they'll come, they'll talk to me. We'll talk. I'll tell them what needs to happen, what's going on with their life, and they're just kind of like, yeah. And then I get a text message, I hate you. Usually it says the F word sometimes, too. And I just smile because I know that everything I said was true and everything is now fine.
Introverts will be like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to give that person any more advice. So maybe that's it. It's like a true empath and or a true extrovert is going to roll right through that.
Right, because...
And introverts will like, well, I tried. That's enough of that.
But you know that I know that I was right. It's like
We'll figure it out, but I'm not going to give them any more advice. This person... oh, you hate me, do you? Well, guess who doesn't get any more of my valuable time?
Wah, 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 wah. That's not how it is. If you didn't help them, they'd be like this. You were so wrong. He did not do that. I asked him, and everything is fine. And when I called her, this is what she said. Nope. Exactly what I said. That's why they hate me. Because once again, I was right. In fact, I got a thing the other day from my friend. Let me see if I can find what she sent. Because I've been talking all day. Where's she at? She sent me this. Karma, noun. The universe's way of saying, let's see how the fuck you like it. She says, some call it karma. I call it, I was with Kim. Meaning, it's me. It's just the way she did it. She's like, nope, it's just Kim. Kim will fix everything. You don't need karma. So that's my friend that I get that.
No one ever says that about me. I listen, I help my close friends and I help my family. But I mean, most people just out in the world
you don't have a big circle of people, but you are very passionate about when you see mankind in general being hurt in any way, you are on it to take all that extra time. And so you're not just helping one person, you're trying to help out a civilization. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of extreme.
So my other question was this. Mm-hmm. You said, I don't give them what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. So in this continuum of empath and genuine or whatever, I don't mean to set up the question too much or to make it a direct question, but what about people who just tell people what they want to hear? Are they fake empaths, or they just don't know the problems they're causing, or they think they're doing well? You know, what's going on there?
I think when you give someone the wrong information on purpose because you don't want to hurt their feelings, I believe the person coming to you is just coming to you because they know you're going to side with them. And so my friends, and they'll tell you, if you don't want the truth, don't ask Kim. So if you go and get your hair cut... Confirmation
bias.
If you come in...
Some people are looking for confirmation bias and they know where they can get it.
If you want to know the truth, come to me. My friend came in, she said, tell me what you think of my bangs. And I looked at her bangs and I go, what did you do? And she goes, what? And I said... They're not even. What are you trying to do with those? Why did you do that? And she goes, I told them that they looked horrible. And they were like, no, they look good. She says, oh, fine, I'm going over to Kim's because she'll at least tell me the truth. I said, girl, do not go in public with those bangs. That is atrocious.
Forget coronavirus.
You
need to stay home.
You got a serious case of ugly bangs. And so she was like, fine, I'm going to have to go get them fixed. I'm like, do something, because I'm not going to let my friend embarrass herself because everybody else around her is going to be like this.
Friends don't let friends have bad bangs.
No, they don't. So, or when someone comes to me on a more serious topic that says, I think my husband's cheating on me or my boyfriend's cheating on me. And I say, the majority of the people, this is just that he is a horrible person. You need to get rid of him. Just get rid of him. Get divorced. You are better than that. No, my thing is this. He's cheating on you, right? Yeah. Why? Well, why is he cheating on you?
Man, only a woman could say that.
And they'll go, well, because I Well, because, I've kind of been around you, so maybe it's the fact that you're working 3 jobs and you're never home, and he has to take care of the kids, and then when you come home, you do this, and this is totally made up, this is not a real situation, and then he does this, and so maybe he's just lonely. So, like, you've got to fix your marriage. Like, you've got to be a part of the marriage.
But that goes to the empathy of, do you want to emotionally invest to try to get through the analysis
Correct.
of the actual details?
And an introvert probably is like, I don't have time for this. I need to get home.
Right. And so I think sometimes
I'm
people
not.
hear what they want. I mean, they tell somebody what they want, and they really think they tell somebody what they think they want to hear, and they think they're doing them good because they're supporting them.
Right.
Supporting my friend. It's like, it's kind of token. And I don't know that those people are disingenuous. They're just not.
Well, it's just first of all, they're not picking up. Remember when I said earlier that in order to see it, you have to not be selfish and always focus on yourself? A lot of people are just on themselves. And so when you come to me and you say, Kim, this happened to me, I don't react as if it happened to me, of how I would handle it. I have to know you and say, okay, so I need some more information, because if I'm going to answer it, I have to answer it for Tyson, not for Kim. And most people put themselves in that situation, and it's kind of like this is kind of a weird thing. When you go to a funeral and people are crying, are they honestly crying because someone they really didn't know, but because they're like my dad? When my dad died, all these people are crying. I'm not crying. I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at these people, and my cousins are just blubbering. They're right next to me. They're blubbering, and I'm looking at them and I'm feeling all of this, and all I'm thinking is nobody's here crying because my dad is gone. They're crying because they're thinking about what happens when my dad dies, or they're remembering when their dad dies, or they're thinking, what if somebody else dies? Our feelings aren't really on the ball right there. So when you are helping somebody, you've got to not think about yourself, and you've got to think about them and how they're going to react, and not exactly what the normal answer is.
And to your point, then, some of it turns into flashback city, the way some people react.
Right.
Because they remember when they're in a similar situation, and,
right.
well, that means that so-and-so, no doubt he did, and it's probably with a maid, and
right.
that little hoe, he's probably got chlamydia by now, or whatever,
Right, it's like, you better go get tested.
No, specific cases.
Right, like,
and
this is me.
Specific cases require more detail. Not just your reaction of your flashback to what happened in your specific,
And that's the hardest thing with any sort of person. In a normal person, when you're an empath, the next one says, we ignore our own problems. Once again, we're focused on the people around us, and that's why we see it so much. Just like the other day, I told someone, I had a client came in, and for the last 2 years, she's been sick. She's 82 years old, and she has been sick. And last year, she was having trouble with dizziness and not able to walk. And she came in last night, and, when they get up to be 80 years old, it's always like, am I going to hear from him this year? Or am I going to hear from the kids? And she called, and she came in, and I said, how's your dizziness? Did you ever get that fixed? And she says, I've got a story to tell you. She said, my son went down to some place or whatever where they had a big revival where they were healing people in this revival of whatever church and whatever it was. And he walked up and he said, and they said, what is wrong with you? And the guy that was up there said, you have problems with your back. Do you want me to fix it? And he said, I do have problems with my back, but my mother, who is 81 years old, has dizzy spells and she's having problems walking, and I want her healed. And so everybody in that congregation, in that meeting, every single one of them did a prayer using her name. Mm-hmm. When he came back, the night that happened, the next morning, all the dizziness was gone.
I believe in
all
that
of
type
it was
stuff.
gone. All of it was gone. She said, I haven't been dizzy. The doctors for a year have ran tests on me. Couldn't find anything. And she said, I didn't know anything was going on. So my son comes back, into town, and he asked me, he says, how are you feeling? And she says, it's really weird, but for the last couple days, I haven't had any dizziness. And that's when he told her. It's not like he called her, she was there. She said that when she thought about it, almost the time that they were saying those prayers. So there is so much power in the world that we don't do. And I said, the thing is that you've got to pay attention to the world to even feel it. Because a lot of people are handed gifts daily that they're ignoring because they're so into their madness and their negativity and all that kind of stuff, that's not how I am. I'm always feeling everything. And my problem is that I sometimes push it off. Well, not for 2020. 2020 is all about Kim. I have my own coach. I have everything.
Yeah, and that goes. I didn't know if you're going to mention it, so I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it. But empaths ignore their own problems. They're always trying to help people. That's just number 10. And you need to understand how to handle your own. And then I remember that you'd said you got a coach. Mm-hmm. And
helping me greatly.
And what happens, I think a lot of us do this, empathic or not. And I would say, so number 10 is empaths ignore their own problems. I think a lot of us find reasons to ignore our own inherent problems. And any number of distractions can be the reason. Some of them are very noble distractions, and other of them are awful addictions. But we all can ignore our own problems. And certainly people who, first of all, are sending so much energy in other people's direction. And then they're looking outward so much. So I believe that empaths can ignore their own problems and that it can work up so that eventually, and even the pent-up emotions, it says pent-up emotions eventually come out.
Right.
But you said you're very analytical in some senses.
Right.
So
well, and I
don't
think,
know if it comes out like that for you.
I think, you can come up with an excuse to ignore your problems. I have to come up with an excuse to make sure I focus on myself because I don't ever think about myself. That's one of the things, if you were to ask even the people that don't even know me, they automatically assume that I'm just some saint because I'm always helping and always doing so much different work for people. And I don't even know that I do it. And I have to stop, and I've got to stop and recognize what I do because I have to take care of myself. So anyway.
Yeah, one thing about you, as everybody knows just from listening to this podcast, you definitely are very active in the community. And that itself is almost like an empathy thing because you're thinking of the overall community as opposed to, some people would say, and I think it's true in some fashion, that sometimes people estimate the need for all of us to be worried about our entire community, because if you help you and yours and help them in a concentrated, very effective way, and all of us do that, it gets us 75% of the way towards a pretty decent society. But that's not to say other people shouldn't and can't do that. But you're the type who would do that. You're constantly, involved with the community and trying to think of the next thing to make it better. And that's almost another, kind of a correlation to empathy.
Right. Right, because I want everyone to be happy and love life. Now, I'm not going to force people because we make our own choices. If you're not happy, I'm not trying to make you happy. I'm trying to give you a community that you can be happy in if you will allow yourself to be happy in. And
Have you ever just thought about tickling people?
Oh, no.
Just on the street, just tickling people?
No. See,
they can be happy
tickling,
for just a moment.
I hate tickling. Oh my gosh, my dad was so ticklish, and my dad used to have a stutter, and he always said, if you tickle someone too much, you get a stutter. And I was like this.
I'm afraid he stutters over here. No, I got empathy. I don't want to be creating stutters.
Mel Tillis had that stutter. And my dad would go like this. He was tickled too much. It's so so I'm like, don't be tickling me. And so like, I am ticklish, but you try to tickle me, I'm tough. I'm like this. Oh, I will not laugh. I will not laugh. I will not laugh. But sometimes because like you have to just tickle me exactly right. But I haven't been tickled in a long time, and no, especially with this
and that
coronavirus.
person got kicked in the groin.
I'm not going.
They said wash hands, but they didn't say anything about not tickling after you've washed your hands.
They did not. I guess. What? Why don't you try that tomorrow while you're out at lunch?
They'll be like, pop! Like, next week you see me with a black eye. I was just trying to spread happiness. They thought I was trying to spread a virus, so they didn't agree with my strategy.
Tyson's tickling. All right.
Tyson's quick tickles.
All right, we have to get going before this goes downhill.
We have this basic pattern. Hey, it's okay to end on silly. Why not?
It is. And like I said, I am so tired. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna
You can
survive. Say
it's because you're delirious. I'm gonna take it as the compliment of that it was authentically funny,
yes.
Whether it was or not. So I'm gonna ignore this whole delirious thing.
You're so funny. All right. Thank you guys so much for giving us your time, and we appreciate all of our listeners. And we expect this show to keep going and going and going. Episode 24. Beep, boop, beep. Is that like the TV show 24 or something?
I've referenced it 3 times.
I've not even ever seen that show.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
I thought of the idea, and then they copied it, but I never watched it because I was too mad because it was my idea.
That's a little timer sound. When they'd come in and out of commercials, they'd start with that little beep timer sound to get you back on the idea. And when they did it, it'd say what time it was in the day by that time. Because remember, it's supposed to run an hour per hour.
Right.
Yeah, so all of a sudden you'd come back and the first commercial break in and be supposedly 7:15, Washington, D.C. or whatever. It's funny how 24, everything important in the globe happened within driving distance of working for the Southern ones. Because if it didn't, it's like, well, we're screwed. So the next hour you tune in, he's waiting at the airport. Beep, beep, beep. He goes to get a Starbucks. He come back from commercial break. He's like, passengers A. Only the A group of passengers, please. Kiefer looks at his ticket and goes, damn it. It says C.
I don't even get priority. Boop. Beep.
Everything happened with quick driving distance. Yeah, thank God. The world would have ended.
There's definitely nothing quick about the airport. They would have had a private chopper. They would have brought him in on a Magnum PI chopper.
That said, I really liked that show. It was fun.
All right, make sure you guys join our Facebook group, Kimology 411. And if you haven't joined yet, you really should. Go back and make some comments. Let us know if you're an empath or maybe you're an introvert, extrovert, and maybe some of this stuff actually is you. Thank you, Tyson, for helping make Kimology 411 so awesome.
Yeah, another thing, too, is just this idea that if you leave, thank you, and if you leave comments, and if you haven't ever really thought about that kind of overlap of, as you think of yourself as introvert and extrovert, which seems to be an overwhelming thing on social media, this categorization.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever really thought about how this empath and this information might be kind of maybe more the underlying, I shouldn't say issue, just the underlying cause or a factor in it? So I find that very interesting when Kim showed me this, that it's like, we think introvert, extrovert, and then it's like, hey, this empath thing, is definitely a major influence on some of these same behaviors that we think of as introvert, extrovert.
Exactly. I have to totally agree. All right, guys. Well, we will talk to you soon, and please make sure to keep taking all of your adventures. Bye-bye.